we are entering year 4 of the most hyped career that the hockey world has prepared for in the last decade. Connor Bedard was supposed to be a franchise piece that redirected Chicago north, but after an off-season shoulder injury that's likely taking him out until late fall, we're looking at another year where Chicago most likely is squatting in the NHL's basement. That's interesting because last fall, Chicago's rebuild looked like it was just about finished. Bedard was second in the NHL in points, on pace for one of the greatest Blackhawks seasons of all time before a shoulder injury. And when he returned, the steam was gone. Bedard finished the year with a respectable but not generational final points tally in his third year in the show. Now, injuries are a problem here, but that's the case for countless elite players in hockey. I just don't care. What matters most is what kind of peaks Bedard can reach while playing for the Blackhawks. This last season, Bedard played an explosive, selfish brand of hockey that was, by all accounts, truly elite. So what made Bedard explode last year? What does that say about who he is as a player, and how good actually is Connor Bedard?
This kind of has to be the last year of not playing till the end of the year, playing for something.
After his second year in the show, I was critical of how this guy was progressing. On the surface, it was an incredible season for a 19-year-old, but the bar for a guy of this caliber is so unbelievably high. It's not just that you have to lead your team in points, you have to be near the top of the NHL overall. I felt like his problems stemmed from not being physically excellent enough for his skill to be an X factor. Now, maybe Bedard agreed. This last season, he took a clear jump. He produced at an 89-point pace, 30% better than last season, while the analytics, eye test, and overall aura just matched the idea that this guy was getting a lot better. And while the highlights have been incredible, his piss missile shot, his elite game sense, basically running a welfare program for his line mates, the biggest change has come down to Bedard's speed. That's been the biggest season-on-season difference. This is a graph of some of the best skilled players in hockey in 2024-2025. It's not every player, but it's a good representation of the company that Bedard is surrounded by. Further to the right you go, it's the higher a player's top speed is, while the further up you go, the more explosive that guy is. How often are you getting up to speed? Connor Bedard, a 5'10" scoring center, was sitting around the level of Austin Matthews or Artemi Panarin. McKinnon gets up to speed 6 times more often in the same amount of ice time as Bedard. That's why he has a reputation of a freight train. Holy smokes, slow down. But it's also an important indicator as to maybe why Bedard wasn't as generational as people thought. But you compare those first 2 years to his third season, and Bedard is actually in the middle of the pack. So, he didn't become Usain Bolt, but he did reach a level of explosiveness that's proven to work for skilled forwards, around the level of a Jack Hughes or a Macklin Celebrini. That's a big reason why in 2026, we got to see something that rookie Bedard just didn't have in the NHL, an aggressive attack mindset that propelled him to near the top of the scoring race early last year. It was obvious early on how much more often this guy was getting up to speed per game. He was buzzing, but that clearly wasn't his only focus. His edge work was noticeably better, and that played a part in how much stronger his puck protection was in the offensive zone. Sifting through a couple players while looking for a play. For smaller guys, the name of the game is creating space, and we've seen how elite skaters can dominate in the NHL despite a lack of size. Bedard wants to be one of those people. InStat had him 7th in even strength zone entries last year, a stat which says a lot about Chicago deferring to Bedard every chance they get, but also about how Bedsy can take it end to end against anyone in the league. He's using these complete rushes to create a lot of shots for himself. He's one of the best in the league at creating rush shots. It's something you'll notice almost immediately watching him play. Out of the zone, it's a 2-on-2 where Bedard immediately attacks the middle of the ice, hallmark of an aggressive transition player. The only problem, he's getting defended by Matthew Schaefer, who's one of the best skaters in the sport, and he's already one of the very best transition defensemen in the league. You can't go around him, so Bedard goes through him. Puck in the skates, get low to the ice, and get your shoulder in his hands. That's a shot off the rush through a basically impossible situation. And against Detroit, he's matched up against Seider and Danielson. Running a little scissor action means Bedard can take Seider out of the play, leaving Teravainen defended by the forward. Smart idea, but as per usual in Illinois, the play just did not work out. Bedard is first to the puck, he fends off Sider, and he finds his defenseman, who is testing if Gibson's pads still work. You know what? Great effort. Later on in the same shift, Bedard corrals an absolute grenade while getting lined up by Appleton, a guy who wants to kill 98. Somehow he gets through both Red Wings while making the pass. Just an unreal play. Bertuzzi snipes off Travis Hamonic's big toe, and he's pissed. The attack mindset is creating a lot for Chicago overall, but you can't ignore his teammates. Bedard is clearly more physically dominant than he's been in the NHL, and his skating is a bit of an X factor now. His overall value has skyrocketed since he started playing this way. He's already one of the most skilled players in the league. It's not ridiculous to say he's top 10 or even top 5 for pure skill. Analytically, he already creates more chances than 97% of all NHLers, despite playing with maybe the worst supporting cast a supposed generational talent has ever started their career with. He's a classic dual threat offensive piece, one of the best shots in the sport, maybe the best shot, and he's had to create almost all of his own looks in Chicago. He can score in any way you want. He's got an era-defining snapshot that's been beating NHL goalies from range since he was 18 years old. He's highly skilled in front of the net and can collapse a goalie at will. And maybe his most underrated trait as a player is how great he is off puck. You don't get to see it much in Chicago, but he consistently finds soft ice and open passing lanes with his roots. Really, anytime a teammate of his makes a good play or finds him when he's open, he turns it into a great look, and he is truly elite at finishing these kind of chances. It's just such a good shot. After 3 seasons, he's got maybe a top 50 highlight reel of all time from an NHL player, and he's had to fight for just about everything he's created. That is to say, Bedard does take the play into his own hands a lot in Chicago. With how great he is off puck, some might argue that the current style of Bedard ball offense is setting him up to explode for production when he gets a great teammate on his line. Definitely not wrong, but it's hard to argue against the downsides of Chicago's freewheeling style. Fuck it, let's finish last again. Who is going to stop us? That mentality looks like it's plaguing Chicago again for the 4th straight season of the Bedard era. To put it simply, Chicago is just being a dumpster fire. Bedard can do a lot, but stringing together a few strong passes or sustaining pressure in the offensive zone just doesn't happen every night in Chicago. As a result, there's a lot of times where Bedard can do a bit too much on a play. Considering the quality of his teammates, I really don't blame him for looking off the 2022 draft class Nazar Rinzel-Brazy duo, even if it leads to a turnover every now and then. Now, by all accounts, Bedard actually did try to incorporate his teammates more last season than his rookie year. Whether that's because he had a bigger target on his back and he just had to facilitate more, or it's because there would be some value in incorporating his teammates. Regardless, it's pretty clear Bedard gave up on that. This last season, he played the most selfish overall hockey of his career, and as a result, the best era of Bedard Blackhawks hockey happened this season. Give Bedard the ball, let him cook, it works. But that comes with its own problem. Bedard is not having a great effect defensively. Actually, that's an understatement. Analytically, Bedard is the worst defensive player of all time. Substantially worse than the second player, too. The difference between first and second is the same as the difference between second and 76th. Bedard's defensive reputation has never been great. One could argue he wasn't amazing in juniors. Still, someone with a hockey IQ this high should be, decent defensively. Some of the great tenets of a great shooter and goal scorer are the same ideas that go into a great defensive player, being strong on the puck, having great hockey IQ. Now, a big contribution to this is Bedard's tendency to look for offense. He's the only true offensive piece on the Blackhawks, and so it makes sense to maximize those minutes. When he gets the puck in transition, it's one of the most dangerous events in hockey, and that's how Chicago is probably going to win a game. But to get him the puck, he's going to have to take risks, like blowing the zone early and relying on his teammates to find him or another target. But in practice, it looks a lot more like Chicago winning the draw on their own end, Lardis making a couple steps, put on the gas pedal, Bedard is wheeling up the middle. This is setting up a 2-on-2 opportunity where we could see some Bedard magic. All Green has to do here is pick the puck up on his forehand, find one of the 2 high-skill targets, and Chicago will be in a phenomenal position against the Buffalo Sabres. Instead, Green has an AHL caliber first and second touch. Samuelson pounces on it. It's a turnover right away. Norris steps into the ice that Bedard left behind, and that's a -1. It's always going to make sense for Chicago to spring Bedard. Just get the fuck, we'll find you, all right? Just get out of here. Except Chicago is not that good at getting the puck north. They were 4th last in controlled breakouts this last season, despite playing a rush-style game. That's the problem, and in a nutshell, that's why they targeted Bowen Byram. I don't know if Bedard is a terrible defensive player. His environment more or less relies on him not playing defensive hockey. There's definitely work to be done, but worst defensive player of all time is a bit of a joke to me. Developmentally, Bedard is leaning into his strengths, which you want to see from your generational talent. He's just maximizing his potential. At 20 years old, he already has 3 seasons leading an NHL team in points. That's something that no other player has done this century. Personally, I'm ready to say he's a top 20 player in the league, and if all goes well this season, I could see him cracking the top 10. He's the biggest victim of his environment out of anyone in the sport. It's not difficult to imagine more skilled line mates and a system around Bedard playing even league average hockey could make him 100, 120, 130 point player. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. I'm on a goal to 1 million subscribers again, and I really need to see it happen. Thank you so much